All right, guys, so I took an Uber here. It was probably like a 15-minute ride from Berryessa Station to get to the Winchester house. So it's not how I thought it would be at all. Like, for some reason in my mind, I had it like pictured in the middle of nowhere, just like this huge mansion, but it's actually right next to the mall, and there's like a ton of stuff around it. There's like apartments across the street, a bank, the parking lot is huge. It's just not what what I thought it would like look like. I just pictured this like old creepy house in the middle of nowhere, but it's not. It's like, it looks like a legit tourist attraction. So I cannot film inside of the house. I think I can film the gardens. I'm not sure. I think the gardens are like through here. I think I can film that. I can't film inside the house, so I can't really show you guys what's going on, but I'll tell you guys what it was like, what the tour was like inside. I'm gonna be doing two tours. I'm doing the normal house tour, and then I'm doing a walk with spirits tour, which is a new tour. I think they started last year, where they do kind of like a mock seance in the house. So they're both an hour long. I booked them together. If you book them together, you get a discount on the price of one of the tickets. So if you want to do that, it is a little bit cheaper to get them together. And then they also have a Halloween haunt here during October. And I think that's at night, where they turn the house into like a haunted house, and you can do that too. But I'm just doing the normal tour and then the walk with spirits tour. So when you first walk in, they have like a little gift shop that you go through with different stuff that you can get, some clothes, trinkets, and then they will announce over the loudspeaker like the time for your tour, and you're gonna line up outside once your tour starts. And they have this room. Oh, I think this has like some of the tools that, or some of the weapons that her husband might have created. I don't know. The guns. I guess this is like the Winchester rifle. So the guns that her husband created. And then there's, I guess this is a replica of the house. It's huge. You really can't tell from the entrance how big the house is, but looking at this, it's freaking huge. And it just started as like an 8-bedroom farmhouse. She added everything else to it. So this is the garden. And once you're in the gift shop area, I think you can just walk out here and walk around the garden. So I didn't explain the story to you guys, but so the story of the Winchester house is there was this woman named Sarah Winchester, and she was married to this guy named William Winchester, and he is the owner of Winchester Repeating Arms. So he created rifles that were super popular in the West. And he got his fortune from that. So what had happened is William and Sarah had a daughter. Their daughter died about a month after she was born. And then years later, William died, Sarah's mother died, and her father-in-law died within like 1 year of each other. So after all that happened, supposedly she thought that she was cursed and that the family was cursed, because her husband had created these guns that were used in wars and had killed so many people. So they were originally from Connecticut. She decided to move to San Jose, where she bought this house that was originally an 8-bedroom farmhouse. But she decided to do renovations on it to do additions to it. And then that 8-bedroom farmhouse became this massive, massive mansion that you guys are seeing now. And I guess the reason why they say that she kept building the mansion is because she thought that she was cursed, and she thought that if she stopped building the mansion, she would die. So she just continued for years and years and years, like maybe 20 years that she lived here, that she was just gonna keep building. But the problem was, a lot of the architecture didn't make sense. She would build doors that led nowhere, staircases that led nowhere, rooms that just didn't make sense. Like the layout and the architecture of the house did not make sense. And she would go through different developers and different contractors because they would get tired and be like, listen, we've been building for years, none of this stuff makes sense. So they would quit and be like, and then she'd hire another person, and then they'd start working on the house. And it was just continuous work and renovations on the house up until she died. So the house was never officially completed, and then she passed away. And then I think about 9 months after she passed, her house became a tourist attraction because people were just so fascinated with the house, with the story. And today it's still like a huge attraction. So this is like the front area of the house. The house is huge. Like even looking at it from this angle, it's a really big house. The garden area is beautiful. So some people say that the house is haunted by all the people that the gun has killed during war, and haunted by her family. And that Sarah just kept building so that she wouldn't die, and that she would make certain rooms so that when the spirits were following her in the house, they would get lost. So that's why she made it kind of weird and confusing. And then they say that she would always like close the door behind her. So like, I don't know, to like trick the spirits and like make them believe that, confuse them or whatever. And so that's the story. Whether that's true or not, I'm not sure. I'm sure they'll speak more about it on the tour. But I'm like, ever since I heard about this house, I've been dying to come here. So I'm so excited to finally be here at the Winchester house. So this is the front door of the house. It's like a little porch over here. Wow, it still spans all the way back here too. Like this is all still part of the house. Wow. This really is huge. I wonder how much of the house the tour does. There's buildings on this side too. I'm not sure if this is also a part of the original house or what these buildings were used for. But it looks like they have some type of Halloween thing going on out here. I don't know if this is part of the haunt, but all this Halloween stuff is set up out here. They must have some kind of show. And then this is the back of the house. It's actually quite peaceful here, and I thought it would be more spooky, but it's actually a really like nice peaceful area. The house is gorgeous. It doesn't look I thought it might look like rundown and old, but they've kept up with it really nicely. I think they have an escape room here too, Houdini's spiritual escape. So I think that's part of it as well, if you want to do an escape room while you're here. How it's like never ending. Oh, I guess this is all part of the house. This is all part of the house.
The mansion tour at 11:40 is departing outside in the courtyard. The mansion tour at 11:40 is departing outside in the courtyard.
So I think that's where you would start the mansion tour, in this back area over here. And then that's the entrance from the gift shop that I was in earlier. So you could come through the gift shop and come straight out here too. So yeah, that's the outside of the house and the garden area. So I'll let you guys know how the 2 tours go. So I'm gonna try to include some pictures I took inside the house, because you are allowed to take pictures. You can't take video or any audio, but you can take pictures. So I'll try to include some of the pictures of the different rooms that I shot. Hey guys, so I just got done with my tour. I just did 2 separate tours of the Winchester Mystery House. I did the normal mansion tour, and then I also did the Walk with Spirits tour. And these are 2 very different tours of the house. So the mansion tour is more so about the history of the house, the history of the Winchester family, how the house came to be, telling you about the different rooms in the house, showing you the different architecture of the house, and the different quirks, the windows in the floor and the ceilings, the doors that lead nowhere. So that's mainly the focus of the first tour, just kind of getting the history. Now, if you're more into the spiritual part of the house, the mysticism of the house, the rumors surrounding the house being cursed or haunted, you'll want to do the second tour, the Walk with Spirits tour. So that's when you get more into all of that stuff, like the paranormal aspect of the house, and they kind of go over why Sarah built the house, why she might have thought that she was cursed, and why she built the house in this weird way that she did. It talks about the different spirits that might be haunting the house, where the wheelbarrow goes, some of the stories of things that have happened in the house, or some of the paranormal things that people have seen. And there's a portion where you do a mock seance in the house, and that was kind of cool. So it was kind of like they put you in a room, you're all like surrounding a table, and there's like a recording going over like what a seance would have felt like, and the lights are like flickering. So that was cool. And then the access that you get to the house with the 2 tours is very different as well. You don't repeat a lot of the same areas. So the first tour is taking you to certain rooms in the house. You see Sarah's bedroom, you see the grand ballroom, you see the dining room. But with the second tour of the house, you're seeing areas of the house that people haven't seen in 95 years. So they're just now opening these parts of the house to people. So don't think that if you did the first tour, the mansion tour, that if you do the other tour, you're going to be seeing the same things. They're taking you into completely different areas of the house. It's a completely different tour with a completely different feel. So I personally think it's worth it to do both if you haven't done both. If you're just going to do one tour, I'm going to go with the first one because you want to get the history of this house. Like, you want to get the history and the layout of all the the main important rooms in the house. The second tour is just a fun tour. If you're like me and you're into spiritual stuff, then of course do that tour too. But I think if you're going to choose just one, go with the first mansion tour. But I highly recommend you do both. They were both interesting and they both talked about different aspects of the house. And plus, the areas that you get to see with the second tour, you're not going to get to see with that first tour that you go on. And I also want to say that you get to go into the basement on the second tour. This is not something that you get to do on the first tour. And there's kind of a little fun activity that they do in the basement where you're trying to see if there's any paranormal stuff happening in the house. And something happened to me. I'm not going to give it away. I'm not going to give away what they do or what happened, but I got kind of freaked out. Something happened. They have us do something, and something happened. Something touched me or did something, and I kept having the name Lily repeat in my head throughout the house, especially when we got into the basement area. I kept having the name Lily, Lily, Lily. I don't know if there's any Lily tied to this house, but that just kept coming into my head. But it was super fun. Both tours were really good. The tour guides were really good and animated, so that was good. They had stories of their own that they shared with us. So that's the rundown of the two different tours. I think they're both totally worth it. I know a lot of people like the spiritual and paranormal stuff, so definitely check out that second tour. And even if you're not, just to see the other parts of the house that you wouldn't get to see otherwise, I still recommend doing both tours. And if you do both tours at the same time, you get a discounted price off the second tour. So totally worth it. Check out the Winchester house, check out the gardens and everything. Super fun. So I also wanted to say, none of the tours really indulge too much into the rumors surrounding the house. I think they try to keep it as vague and historical as possible, because if you read about the house, there's so much stuff that you could read about and paranormal activity, but they kind of keep it very vague. They don't get into too much of the rumors. And I can kind of see how this house being built, the rumors could have gotten out of hand, because this house was an 8-room farmhouse before it became this huge crazy mansion. And you can tell that a lot of there's windows within the house, within rooms, windows looking into other rooms within the house. And you could say Sarah was nuts, or she was paranoid, or she did this for a reason. But I also think that a lot of the architecture designs in this house might have just been because the house was already built and she kept adding things. She would build a room or a wall and think that that was going to be it. So she'd put a window on that side wall, and then she'd be oh, you know what? I think I want to add another section to that part of the house, and then there would be a window looking into the other section of the house. Not necessarily because she was nuts, but I think maybe she didn't think of the design all the way through, or she just kept wanting to add things, and that's how you got these quirky, weird designs. She was just I changed my mind, I don't really want to put a room there, or I do want to put a room there, but she just never fixed things. It's as if she built the house and she changed her mind often, but she never went back and fixed things that she changed. And they also said after the big earthquake of 1906, a lot of the house was damaged, and instead of Sarah going in and fixing the damage, she just would not go into those parts of the house anymore. So instead of her being like, oh, these walls are cracked, I already have guys here building this house 24/7, why not just have them fix that? She just said, screw that. I want nothing to do with any part of the house that was damaged or collapsed in the earthquake. I'm just not going into those parts of the house. So there's tons of parts of the house that you can still see the cracks from the earthquake and the damage from the earthquake, and she just never fixed them. She just ignored those rooms as if they didn't exist. So it is kind of hard to tell what was going on with her, and no one really has gotten anything from her. She was very recluse. She stayed in her house most of the time. She didn't socialize like that. So people really don't know why she did this or why she built the house the way she did. People have obviously speculated and come up with their own rumors, but she might have had a valid reason for this, or she might have been crazy, but no one really knows why she did this. But the house itself is fascinating, and a lot of the things that are in this house were like the first of its time. Like, there are elevators in this house, there's electricity in this house, there were like things built in a functional way that I don't think other houses were doing yet at the time. So she was like thinking like, oh, how can I make these things more functional? So there's a lot of like cool things in the house that are like, oh, I didn't even think that they would have that at the time, but Sarah thought of it. So all in all, it was just interesting, but I just wanted to add that.